Today I'm doing a Halloween flashback to this cute Dollar Tree Munchy ghost. Welcome to Up All Night DIY. I'm Monica. Thanks for joining me. We're going to flashback to my second ever YouTube video. It had some audio issues as well as other tech problems, so I've cleaned it up the best I could. Let's get into it. So I have this Dollar Tree pumpkin stack sign, and I'll be working on the back side of it. I'll draw a line dividing the hat and the bottom pumpkin. I'll give the hat 2 coats of Ceramcoat charcoal. The bottom pumpkin will get 2 coats of Americana Canyon orange. And the middle section gets 2 coats of Ceramcoat white. While that dries, I'll work on his mask. I've cut this from a piece of cardstock. I'll trim it with some white checks. This is a base coat. I want those checks to be orange, but since the orange is sheer, the white will give me a truer color. So I'm just going to go right around the mask with those checks. And now I come in with my Canyon orange and paint over the white checks. I'm not too fussy about completely covering the white if some of it peeks through. That's cool. I'm going to use my liner brush and white to add his eyes to the mask. It's kind of like a capital D on its side. I know I've said that before, but that's pretty much the shape. And then I'm going to come in and give him some character lines and brows. It is pouring rain. Can you hear it? I feel like the character lines give him like a happy little squint. And brows, well, they're always important for expression. I sketch in his details real quick. I've cut out the jack-o'-lantern's face from cardstock, which I'm going to trace on. I do this so that the eyes are symmetrical because, as we know, otherwise they'll be wonky. Next, I trace the width of the hat onto my scrapbook paper to make the hat band. And then I just arch the top and bottom of it, to fit the space. I'll float in the ghost's details with Hippo Gray. I prep my brush with the floating medium. I'll scoop the paint onto the corner of my brush and stroke the brush on the plate to load the bristles. This spreads the paint about halfway across the brush to create a gradient of color. I'll put the paint corner of the brush to the edge of the wee ghost and stroke along that edge, laying down the shading. I reload frequently. I do have a shading video that goes into more detail, so I'll link that in the description box because, like I said, this was my second video, so instruction might not be great. I gotta tell you, re-editing this, wow, what a bear. Yeah, so I'm going to float in the details on this guy, and then I'm going to give him some hands and float completely around the perimeter. Now let's give him some pudgy cheeks. Once again, I'm using my liner brush and Hippo Gray to paint in his smile. I'm using Americana Mississippi mud to give him a delicious chocolate bar. There's a bite out of the corner because he couldn't wait to dig into his trick-or-treat loot. And I'm going to fill that in with 2 coats. I paint in the jack-o'-lantern's face with 2 coats of charcoal. I'll come in with Americana Bittersweet Chocolate to add the candy bar segments, the little square parts. Basically, I'm painting wee 7s and L's to suggest the squares of the chocolate, and I'll outline the bars as well. I'm shading his hat with Hippo Gray completely around the hat. And now I'm going to shade the ribs of the jack-o'-lantern with Americana Burnt Orange. I'm holding the paint corner of my brush to the area that I want the darkest shadow. I'm sorry that this is out of frame, but remember, this is my second video ever, so I was still working things out. I shade around his features too, and around the perimeter of the pumpkin. I'll come back in with Hippo Gray and float alongside right where I just laid the burnt orange shading to add a little extra dimension, and definition. And we'll give him some charcoal brows. Right, okay. So I'll shade the chocolate bar with Americana Bittersweet Chocolate, and I'm reinforcing around those wee segments too. His cheeks will get a float of canyon orange just along the edge. Not only did he sneak a chalk bar, but he also snagged his favorite lolly too. So I'll base it with charcoal, and the stick is going to be canyon orange, and then we'll come back to that in a moment. In the meantime, Jack will get some eyes, just wee white half moons. Back to his lollipop. I'll give it a white swirl, and then I'm going to come in with the canyon orange and give it an orange swirl right along the white swirl. I'll mod Podge's hat band into place and give it a top coat. I'll shade the mask with charcoal under the eyes and around the edges, and you know what? We're going to do the inside of his eyes as well. Here I'm concentrating the shading along the bottom and a wee bit in the corners. Jack will get some charcoal character lines, or lashes, whatever you prefer. Now that the hat band is dry, we're going to shade it first with Hippo, and then we'll come in with some canyon. Now I'll add a white highlight to the hat. The brush is prepared the same way as when we're using the darker colored shade. We'll highlight the candy, and you know what? Jack too. So, I'm not really much of a stickler. I just put the highlights anywhere that I think they'll look good. So that's my advice. Just, trust your own eye, and whatever you think looks good, go with that. I cut a piece of cardboard slightly smaller than the mask, and I'm going to glue it to the back, for a little extra support. I'm just going to hot glue it right onto the ghost. So apparently there's no footage of me making this little doodad from festooning and ribbon, but I'm going to add it to his hat. No idea what happened to the footage. Anyway, again, I'm sorry, I was new at this. So I'll glue the doodad to the hat. And one final detail, we'll give him a chocolate smudge around his mouth. I used Mississippi mud for the smudge. We'll spray him with clear matte sealer, and he's done. So that's my flashback to the beginnings of my YouTube journey. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Stay creative, my friends. Thanks for hanging with me. See you next time. Up all night with Monica.